So, it's time to chat a little bit about what we heard about at the debate on Monday. We were presented two options for presidential candidates, Miss Hillary Clinton and Mr. Donald Trump. One thing that got thrown out there is tax cuts. Who are they good for, and should I support this? And that's what I'm here to tell you. How should we really be thinking about tax cuts as just a typical American? Well, let's look at some data, shall we? Here's a bar graph of the people who would benefit under Mr. Donald Trump's tax plan. As you can see, we have thousands of dollars of savings for almost all Americans. It's pretty amazing. If we were able to see Donald Trump's tax cuts, we just see thousands and thousands of dollars of savings that would go right back into our taxpayers' pockets. Like every single year we would get thousands, and you can see everyone is up in the thousands right here. But let's look at it even more detailed. Like, what does that mean? What about me? Well, what's the average tax cut going to be on average for the typical American? Well, the average American taxpayer is going to see a benefit of $6,929.60. Think of all that money. Now, that could be the down payment for your next car. That could be some of your credit card debt paid off. That could be the vacation that you've been dreaming of. The average American taxpayer, they're going to get a benefit of $6,929. Pretty incredible. So, tax cuts. Who are they good for? Everyone. So yes, we should support this. Donald Trump definitely had the idea on that debate night that is definitely going to benefit most Americans by thousands of dollars. Now, let's see what I just did there. Let's see if I successfully tricked and lied to you. So first of all, let's look at the first bar graph that I showed you to talk about the tax cuts. There are two things that are fishy here. First, this says the middle 20%, the upper middle 20%, and top 20%. That 20 plus 20 plus 20 is 60. This chart is only talking about 60% of Americans. Where's the poorest 40% of the country? So yeah, the middle 20% and the upper middle and the top 20%, the 60% of richest Americans will definitely see a huge increase. But looks like the scale stopped at 5,000 and both of these hit the top. So I wonder if that's even accurate. If we look at the actual chart here, we can see this is the actual data that I used to create that first misleading chart. Same data, two different charts. It shows that the top up here needed to go to $25,180. The richest 20% of Americans would see a tax benefit of $25,000, where the next one was at $5,600. The middle 20%, $2,700, and our poorest Americans, the poorest 20% of Americans, would only see a benefit of $128. The next 20% of Americans would only see a benefit of $969. And just to give you a little context here, each of these represents 20% of the population. America has a population of 318.9 million people. 20% of that means that there are 63 million people represented in every single one of these graphs. So 63 million people in America would only have $128 put back in their pocket, but another 63 million would have 25,000. The richest 63 million would get 25,000. So now we need to look at that average that I threw out. The average American taxpayer would get $6,900 back in their pocket at the end of the year. Let's see how I got that average. I got that by adding up these 5 numbers and dividing by 5. That's how you take averages. But as we've been discussing in class, the amount of money that the richest 20% would earn back with these tax cuts is an outlier. It's way higher than the other 80% of America. So that outlier kind of ruined the average that I used with you on this next slide. So an average of 6,900, does everyone benefit? Let's see where that is. 6,900 would be right here. It looks like the only Americans that would see that much money put back in their bank accounts would be the richest 20% of Americans. 80% of America would not see that much money put back in their pockets. That average, even though it makes it seem like we're all included, only the richest 20% of Americans would actually benefit that much. So, in conclusion, we need to be smarter about graphs and averages. Because if we look at an actual representation of the data, this is just another way to see how much money you would save, and it breaks it up even farther at the rich part. The top 1% of Americans would actually get $184,000 put back in their bank account. And 1% of Americans is only 3,000 people in this country. So we got to be really careful when we talk about averages in these bar graphs. Because is it true that the average American is going to see $6,900? No, only the richest 20%, not the typical American.